is we're a monthly meetup. We meet talking about Google technologies, Android, cloud, startup, all sorts of things. Find us on meetup.com. There's slides that I don't know what they are, so I'll try and keep up with them. So that's our group. We've grown a lot in the last few years, and it's pretty exciting to see this growth. I signed on to help start this group after going to Google I/O in 2009. I think Google I/O is the big developer conference that Google puts on. 7,000 people now come every year, and it's really inspiring. It's a couple days of just super inspiring talks and people doing really interesting things. And I thought if there's any way I could bring this level of energy back to the Twin Cities, I want to get tied into that somehow. And it's happening. There's already a great ecosystem here in the Twin Cities of developers doing really awesome things. So it's great to be part of that. Today, I wanted to thank a number of the organizers who made this event possible. We've got Stephen Fluen, Stephanie Trimble, Patrick Fuentes, and Jeff Williams, who is taking the bus from Mankato or something. We don't know where he is, so I need to talk to him if anybody sees him. So I wanted to also thank this event couldn't have happened. It's a huge undertaking, so huge thanks to all the organizers. They put in a lot of hours, and definitely huge thanks to the sponsors to make this event really happen. We've got some really great prizes to give out to people throughout the day. This venue is great, and to try and make it affordable for everybody was our goal. And so I wanted to thank our sponsors and there's a couple sponsors. We wanted to give a moment to say a word or two about what they're doing. So we'll start with Target. Did I give them the wrong time? Maybe they'll come in a second. So Target and Lead Pages came in at our specially named, the platinum level of sponsorship, and really made an impact on making this event possible. Anybody from Lead Pages? Do you want to say anything about Lead Pages?
Sure, just real quick. We're one of the fastest growing startups in Minnesota. We do conversion rate optimization. We're mostly a Python and JavaScript shop, but we're getting into a lot of other cool stuff. Big data analytics, really pushing the bleeding edge on what you can do in the browser. So if you're interested in finding out more about us, just look for anyone wearing one of these t-shirts. Love to talk to you. And if you love App Engine, yeah, that's right. If you love App Engine, we're the place to be.
Thank you. And they're also sponsoring the after party tonight. There's information on the site about that. I see Target people showing up. They missed the shout out. Do you want to say a couple sentences? Or?
Sure. Same thing for Greg. We're also hiring. So if you want to talk to any of us, we're all wearing our shirts. There's some developers and sessions. We have a booth. We have some great chargers if your phone battery is getting low. We love to chat.
Thank you. So we're in the next tier, Augusto. Is Paul here yet? No one from Augusto? Augusto's been a great sponsor for us throughout the year, hosting events and space and being our annual sponsor, as well as stepping up for this event. So thank you, Augusto. Code 42. Code 42 also is our kind of longest running event sponsor. We meet there. This last year, we've been going back and forth between Augusto and Code 42. Definitely two of our BFFs for G2G Twin Cities. So next is BuzzFeed. Phil, do you want to say a sentence or two?
We're happy to partner with DevFest. I'm Phil Wilson, General Manager of BuzzFeed here in Minneapolis. We're a tech shop, hiring iOS, Android, front end, back end, full stack, you name it. We're into it. We're strictly tech, no editorial, no sales. So we've got a brand new space. We'd love to have you come out, and we are hiring. So glad to see you. And of course, we're on the third floor. Not a lot to say about it. One thing we do well at BuzzFeed is swag. So
Thanks, Phil. And then Live Front. I know Mike couldn't make it today. Oh, great. All right, super. Thank you. And all of these sponsors have booths around, which leads into my next. We have a little bit of an experiment this year. So one of there's so many great announcements over the last year with Google-related products. One of them being Firebase joining the Google team, and so we've been trying to do more integration with Firebase as just kind of trial things. So today we've got a scavenger hunt. We have, what's controlling this? You? Can you pull up the Google Cloud endpoint? Just do a Google search for Google Cloud endpoint. This is professional level presentation here, people. All right. So this logo, which they're hiding, there it is. All right. So there are scavenger hunt endpoints hidden around this event today. There's sponsor endpoints, product endpoints, so different cloud products, and some hero is what I labeled them as. For instance, on my badge here is an NFC tag. I tried to cover all you Apple folks and do QR codes, but it was just anyway. So NFC is so cool. And anybody with an Android phone that's NFC enabled, does anybody want to try? Sure. Way up there? All right, do you want to pull up? All right, next page is seek.devfest.mn.
Do I have to have it?
Well, you have to unlock your screen.
Unlock the
Yeah,
screen,
well,
okay.
you know.
Okay.
All right.
Come on.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Slash.
Oh, I got a thing.
All right, log in. Leaderboard. All right, throughout the day, and make it a little bigger. So, by the way, I'm not a designer. But this is all running on Firebase. On the back end, we'll have a screen at different points throughout the day. I will either post to your Google Plus or send you an email that you've won a prize. So you, as the most recent person on the leaderboard, would you like an Android, little toy, or Angry Kitty? These are pretty sweet. All right. So that's our scavenger hunt. The other Skunkworks project we have is an Android app. So we've got our schedule running on an Android app that Patrick Fuentes has built. Do you want to say anything about it real quick? Like how to find it?
Yeah, it's on the Google Play Store. DevFestMN. Yep. And was made maybe mostly last night. So.
But it has the most current schedule descriptions. You can favorite sessions. Same as if you go to devfest.mn right now, it'll redirect you to our schedule site. If you log in with your Google account, you can save sessions to your agenda and then view your agenda just to see the sessions that you'd like to see throughout the day. That's what we're running on for our most up-to-date schedule is there. Those were the two things. That went longer than I had promised. But so next I'm going to hand it off to Stephen.
All right, so I'm here to talk about today's logistics, so just so that you guys know kind of where we're going and what's happening. So as you can kind of see here, and you guys probably saw on the website and in some of the announcements we made, we've grown DevFest this year. Last year we had 4 tracks. This year we've expanded that to 5 tracks and over 30 speakers. So thank you to all of our speakers. I think there's a lot of great content today. If you're trying to figure out where to go or what to do, we've got signs on all of the doors with the schedule for that room, and then we've got signs kind of strategically placed around, so you should be able to find one. Or you can download the app in Google Play by searching for DevFestMN, or just go to devfest.mn in your browser, and this will come up with, as we said, the latest schedule. Each of the tracks or each of the sessions are about 50 sessions or 50 minutes, including QA. Some of the speakers might finish a little bit early, but we're planning on about 10 minutes of kind of travel time between each of the sessions. The first session starts at 10 a.m. And then we'll doing 2 sessions in the morning, and then we'll be breaking for lunch, and then coming back for 3 sessions in the afternoon. And then we will be closing up at about 5 here. Again, everyone coming back together for closing remarks. And you will not want to miss that, because this year, actually, let me jump back. Whoops. If you are on Twitter, you may see this tag. We're trying to use this for everything that we're doing, with the exception of something I'm going to talk about in a second, which is prizes. This year, we've kind of gone a little bit crazy. Lloyd got a hold of the budget and said, more prizes. So we've actually split it into 4 different types of prizes. So the first one is random drawings. So we'll be doing a random drawing at lunch, and we'll be doing a bunch more random drawings at the end, closing remarks. So there's prizes there like smartwatches, cool things like that. The second type of thing, as Lloyd mentioned, is the scavenger hunt. So the people that are collecting the most people, we're going to check in at various points and see who's top on the leaderboard. And if you're top on the leaderboard, we're going to give you one of those prizes Lloyd talked about. The third one is a photo contest. So does everyone here have a Google Plus account? Good. Wow. I'm actually impressed. So there's an event page for DevFestMN this year. And if you add a photo to the event, and then look around at all the other photos and plus one the ones you like, we're going to be taking the top photo at lunch and then the 2 top photos at the end of the day. And those people are going to be winning, I believe it's Moto 360s. So that's a big deal. So take photos plus one other people's photos. If you have the Google Plus app, you need to pull up, just so that we're all doing the right thing, you pull up the app and you click on the menu and hit add photo. And then that'll go into the event photos repository or gallery. And then you can kind of click around and plus one those. So we're going to be looking at those. It's got a leaderboard kind of built in. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of great photos. And then the last piece here is surveys. So we're going to be announcing 2 surveys throughout the day. The first one is for all of the sessions. So we've got this one URL, devfest.mn/survey, where you're going to select which session you were in, and then you're going to rank it on several criteria. And what we're going to be doing is, once again, we're going to be taking a random selection from all these surveys that people have filled out. And then those people will be winning prizes as well. And then our grand prize is at the somewhere along the day, we're going to be announcing a URL for an event survey. And then of all the people that fill out the event survey, we're going to be giving out a 2015 Chromebook Pixel. So that's a pretty cool laptop. I've got one and I love it. So, any questions on the giveaways, how to participate? So I know it's not just a raffle. So we're looking for audience participation. And a note for those volunteers and speakers in the in the crowd, you guys are welcome too. We really see this as a community event, and kind of everyone can participate. What else? If you need any help throughout the day, there's a bunch of us wandering around wearing blue shirts. So some of us are organizers, and we also have a fantastic team of volunteers. So a huge shout out to all of our volunteers. But just feel free to ask, start a conversation. I think we're all quite friendly. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lloyd to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thanks, Stephen. I realize I project and then also have the microphone, so sorry for the double projection. I'm thrilled to introduce our keynote today. Martin Omander is his name. Google. It was tricky to come up with a good way to introduce Martin, because he's, behind this mystical awesomeness of working at Google. I end up talking with him often in my role as the lead here, and then a regional lead of GDG organizers. So it's just Martin, right? But Martin really has a phenomenal background and is really, actually I would say, one of my modern day heroes. So Martin comes from Silicon Valley. He went through the startup circle. It's been you're almost at your 10-year anniversary at Google, according to LinkedIn. This is where I found this information. And currently, he manages the North America GDG organizers as well as a couple product reps. And that, boy, I can't even imagine or express the amount of work that must be. Because organizers, volunteer organizers are something else to manage. They're super excited and a little bit like herding cats. Their raise is not dependent on their performance. So that's... But they're great. It's a great group of folks in North America organizing GDGs, over 100 of them. And also, which Martin, just as his nature, never really mentions these other things that he's working on, but he also hosts a YouTube series, Road Access for Startups, which is phenomenal. There's about 60 episodes so far on YouTube. They're about 8 minutes long. I recommend you watch all of them before the day's over. No, I'm kidding. But there's a great selection of them. And I'm a big fan of having modern day heroes. I think you should be aware of who you work with and who inspires you and who's doing something that you aspire to work towards. And I'm very sincere in saying that Martin is one of my modern day heroes. I'm pleased to introduce him.
All right, thank you. I have this one. I have.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody, can you hear me in the back? This thing works? Yeah, good, good. All right. Let's see if this works as well. So, my name is Martin Omander. I'm originally from Sweden. I grew up there, and it feels a bit like coming to Minneapolis. I came here last year. Lloyd invited me. It was February. He didn't say anything about the temperature. But it felt a bit like coming to sort of Nordic sensibilities, except people speak English instead of Swedish. But it feels like a little bit like coming home. So I come from Sweden, went to school there. My first job was back there. And then moved to Silicon Valley 15 years ago and worked at a bunch of startups. And the startups usually, they usually fail and go under about a year after I join them. So, then I got out of the startups, and 9 years ago I got into Google, and Google is still holding, so I haven't been able to sync that one. Let's see, can we get the projection there? Maybe like that. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about Asprin for the developer soul. So this talk will be based on trends. And actually, before we even go into trends for developers, there is one very important thing. My manager has to approve my expense report, and he's not quite sure if I'm eating 300 meals today, or if I'm actually having, if you all exist for real, or if you're just my imaginary friends. And I just bought this very nice little camera from HTC that connects with my phone. So I'm just going to pan over you, and then if you could all wave to my manager, and then you could sort of shout out, "Please approve Martin's expense report." That would be great. So I'm going to start over here, and then I'll pan over, and I'll sort of do like this when you should start, okay? So we'll start over here. Very good, very good. One more time, please. Very good, thank you. Now we can get into the actual talk. Yeah. There we go. All right. So information technology is changing, of course. I'm going to talk about 5 trends that I have noticed. I write code at Google for internal tools. And I talk with the people who write Gmail and the search engine and the folks who create the developer-facing, the APIs and such that you guys are using, like App Engine and so on. And I go to a lot of meetups as well and try to stay up to date. And there are 5 trends I've seen that change the way we work with information technology, and they can be real headaches. Fortunately, there's aspirin for them, and Dr. Martin here today will prescribe what kind of aspirin you need. And not only will that make the headache go away, it'll actually give you superhero powers, a special kind of aspirin. So the trends, if only I'd had a Chromebook, then all this would have worked. Yeah, there we go. So the trends are internet attention spans, amount of data, data changing. The fourth one is sort of a double whammy of some prices falling rapidly, but expectations going up at the same time, and then more frequent code deployments. I'll go through all these in some detail, and how they can be headaches, what the aspirin is, and I'm going to grant you superpowers for each of one of these today. So peering into the future, the first trend is that internet attention spans are short. And we all know this, and this has been going on, and attention spans in general have shortened. It took, for each new technology, it takes shorter and shorter for it to, from sort of being an incubating technology to being out there for everybody. So for example, radio took, something like 40 years for it to become really common. TV took 20 years. Computers took even less. Wearables now took like a year. So this is being compressed. And this is also true for the systems we build. This has real impact for what we build. Because this means that all of you are most likely seeing bumpier traffic in whatever systems you're building, bumpier usage than before. You see a lot of it and then not a lot. If you're in a startup, somebody writes about you on TechCrunch and your traffic goes off the charts. Or even if you write internal company applications like I do at Google, everybody hears about your tool and wants to use it, and then it sort of goes away and people don't know about it until the next corporate meeting or whatever. So big bumps in traffic. Now this is hard to plan for. Well, and actually here as well, here we see the Google Trends charts for Twitter. Twitter had a nice long runway of 6 years or so from being created to reaching its peak. And even so, do you remember the days of the fail whale? Anybody here remember? Yeah? Okay, great. That was even with that nice steady slope there. They still weren't able to scale up quick enough. Well, then Snapchat comes in, and they had the same growth that Twitter had in Twitter had 6 years to deal with. Snapchat had to deal with in 2 years. And the next, I don't know, Lead Pages perhaps will have a year to deal with that. And the next startup after that will have 6 months to deal with that. We're seeing amazing compression. Morse law of the mind, yes, that's true. So how do you even plan for this sort of thing, right? Twitter had a big problem planning for this. And even if you write internal apps, this is hard to plan for. I pulled the data from developers.google.com. This is the website where all the API samples and API documentation is for Google APIs. So here we see two trends. We see something like 9 valleys here that correspond to when it's nighttime in the US. US has the largest number of developers in the world, so US is the single biggest contributor to traffic to developers.google.com. We also see this other trend of right in the middle, we have 2 days that are a little lower than the other days, and that's because it's a weekend. So this is kind of hard to plan for this sort of data, because on Saturday night, we have maybe a quarter of the traffic that we have on a busy Monday right after lunch. And all of us are seeing this in our systems and apps we're building. So going from 1/4, so from 25% to 100%, what kind of hardware should you have to support that? Should you have so you can deal with 100%, but then it's idle most of the time? Should you, what happens then when there's a traffic spike? What happens when this happens, for example? Here we see a bit of lumpiness, but then on November 12th, there's a huge spike. So now, all of a sudden, we don't have a 25% to 100%. We don't have 4 times more traffic on the spike as on the weekend, but this is more like 9 times the traffic we had on this particular day. You're all seeing this in your systems as well, and this lumpiness will only increase. So, okay, do you have twice the amount of capacity you need in your system, and most of it sits idle? Even if you do that, you are not guaranteed to be able to handle those extra spikes. So this is enough to give an IT person a headache. No matter what, you either end up wasting money or you end up not being able to deal with your customers at peak times. Well, fortunately, Dr. Martin has an Asprin for you. So what you can do to deal with this, and this happens for my applications. I've written some small applications that are external to Google, and most of them are Google internal, and I see this lumpiness as well in traffic. And I'm not an IT operations guy. I'm a programmer. I want to write code, upload my code and data, and I don't want to deal with capacity planning and all that stuff. It's just, it's no fun, and I'm not good at it. So what you should use is what lead pages are doing. Use App Engine. So this is a Google product, part of the Google platform. And what's cool with this is you can run your Python, Java, PHP, Go code on it, and it adjusts automatically. So you end up paying only for only for the blue area here. As there is a traffic spike, number of machines you get, we automatically, our system, no human is involved, our system automatically installs your application on more machines, and then as it drops off, we uninstall it from machines. You don't even notice. And it will look something like this. This is one of my internal apps. It doesn't have a lot of traffic, but here you see the spikes. That's a batch job I had running that went out to some external website, meetup.com actually, and pulled in data through their API. And here you can see at the bottom, I have 2 instances running. So that is 2 servers. Google system thinks that 2 servers is about right to deal with the load you have. And I can shut them down, or I can view. I never actually go into this menu. I just took a screenshot here because I wanted to show you. Usually, I just let it run, and it figures out how many servers I should have. Oh, and by the way, on this slide, down in the lower right-hand corner, there's a nickel. And I put that as a reminder to myself. That is because 5 cents, that's how much it costs for you to rent 1 server for 1 hour. You also get the first server completely free. So you pay a nickel per hour per server for every server beyond your first one. So if your application only needs 1 server, you can go, it's free the whole time. So with this, I hereby bestow superpowers on all of you. Use App Engine, and when your boss comes and says, oh, we might have a traffic spike, you'll say, it's handled, no problem. And some folks who have used this superpower to good effect, and I'd love to talk with you guys later on lead pages, what your experience has been. Some folks who have used this superpower already are the ones we saw in the graph earlier, Snapchat. They built their whole application. So this is this application, you've heard of it probably. You take photos, you can send photos to others, and then the photos are deleted automatically after a while. So they actually built Snapchat and had this huge growth without having any IT operations staff. They had, last time I talked to these guys, they had 9 developers on staff and served millions and millions of users. And here you actually see their CTO. He is saying that App Engine enabled them to focus on developing the application, and they couldn't have gone where they went before. So Bobby Murphy is their CTO on the left-hand side here. The man who looks slightly worried there on the right-hand side is Urs Hösle, who is the head of infrastructure at Google, and his team has built up all this great infrastructure. All right, that was the first trend. Second one, and this is a trend which actually isn't recent at all. This trend, we're peering into the future. The best way to peer into the future is to look to your past, to our past, our collective past. And this trend has actually been going on for not years, not decades, not centuries, but millennia. There has been more and more data, and the amount of data we have grows exponentially. And computers has, of course, as you know, accelerated this growth. So we see here, you may have seen this infographic. This was the folks at Domo put this together about what happens in a minute on the internet. So for example, there are 4 million search queries every minute. People upload 72 hours of video to YouTube. I can't imagine. I mean, how many cat videos do we need? I don't know, a lot, I guess. So there's a lot of data being generated. Also, in all your applications, here's a challenge for you. You have applications running, and you could all know more about your customers if you collected more data about their usage. So if you take one thing away from this is, regardless of what product you use, whether you use Google's products or others, go and log everything that happens in your application so that you know that this is the screen in your Android app where people abandon the flow, or this is the page on your website where people drift off, or they usually click this button and not that button. Collect, and it's fairly, with modern tools now, it's fairly easy to collect all that data. Google Analytics on your web page, certainly. You can have Google Analytics in your Android app. Similar tools from other vendors, of course. You should collect way more data than you know what to do with, because sooner or later you will figure out what to do with all this data. However, now you have this huge pile of data and you need to run analytics on it. And that is hard. If you get a lot of data, which you all should, it is expensive to run queries on it. You don't want to run queries on your live database. You will get to a point where your regular SQL database won't be able to handle it. Or if you are using NoSQL data, then it's pretty much impossible to run queries on it in the first place. So you might be able to collect all this data, but what do you actually do with it? How do you actually make it useful? It's a headache, and IT departments of all the big companies are fighting this, and it's a hard problem. Fortunately, Dr. Martin has an aspirin for you. And I'm sure that there are lots of good aspirins out there. I know of the Google-branded aspirin, if you will, so I'm going to show you that. This is BigQuery. This is Felipe Hoffa, by the way. He's a funny guy. He works at Google, and except for looking like he stepped straight out of a 1970s sitcom, he's also great at BigQuery. So BigQuery is this thing where you take your massive data sets, your log files, huge data sets, or you can stream data one record at a time into it, and have millions of rows in it and run super fast queries over it. And the 2 pennies there in the lower right-hand corner, that is there for a reminder for me. Let's see if I remember now. Yes, 2 cents is what it costs you to store 1 gigabyte of data on BigQuery for a month. So it's quite a bit more affordable than if you were to build machines and maintain machines yourself. Let's talk about Wikipedia. Wikipedia, they generate a lot of data. And what's really cool with Wikipedia is that they take all these change logs of articles and they put the entire changelog in one huge XML file that they publish monthly. So all edits on Wikipedia for a month, that is a lot of data. And it's kind of hard to crunch those numbers. So, but I'm going to do it right now and show you how it can be done. Demo. So here is Wikipedia changelogs this is from a couple of years ago when we captured this data. It's 314 million rows of data. So there we go. 340 million rows of data. So this would typically, your regular SQL server would have a hard time running queries over this. What we are going to look at here is, here you can see the query text, or actually we'll do like this. So we select the top 10 titles from the Wikipedia set, and because we want to see which articles were the most edited articles. And it's going to go through the 314 million rows of data. So this is a couple of years old. I suspect if I ran it today, it would be different. Any guess, and I'm going to run this query over 314 million rows. Any guesses what might be the most edited article? Good, good, good. You're onto something, yes. What politician? This was a couple of years ago. It was surprisingly not Barack Obama. Should we run it and see? Oh, Clinton. Oh, good, good guess. It's not. We'll run the query. We'll find out two things. First, ooh, Putin. Good. That's inspired. It might be if I pull this data today. Yeah. My hotel Wi-Fi didn't allow me to download this data last night, so I'm not completely up to date. So we're going to find out two things. One, what's the most controversial subject on Wikipedia? And two, how long does it take to query 314 million rows of data? Okay, ready. Here we go. Oh, one more thing. We should not cheat. So here it says use cached results. We don't want to cache anything. That would be plain cheating. No cached results. See that? Yeah. Look, Ma, no hands. All right, it's taken 1 second, 2 seconds. Will this ever finish? There it is, 2.8 seconds. And the most edited one was George W. Bush, 43,000 edits. And number 2 really threw me. What? Yeah, number 3, it's sort of recursive in a nice way. Yeah, Wikipedia. All right. So a regular SQL database would have had a hard time with this. A NoSQL database, you wouldn't have been able to do it at all. Okay, here's another cool data set. This is MLabs, or the measurement lab. This has been founded by a bunch of folks who are in academia. And one big company, as Google, participates as well. The thinking behind Measurement Lab is that you should, if we're going to make good policy for the internet, it's not enough to just have opinions about, oh, network neutrality this, or peering is good, or peering between ISPs is bad. You need actual hard data about how, if ISPs are discriminating certain websites or not. If speeds are fast enough for everybody in the US, everybody in the world. So these folks are in the steering committee. They founded Measurement Labs. The guy on the upper right-hand side is Vint Cerf, who is the only guy at Google who wears a suit. And he can do whatever he wants because he invented the Internet Protocol in the early 70s. And when asked what every talk I've been to when he's speaking, he says, he gets the question of what would you have done differently if you had designed the Internet Protocol today? And his answer is always, I would have created a far bigger address space. So these guys are really smart, and they put together a lot of data. And the way they do it is that they have a plugin you can put on your web server that measures everybody who comes to your web server and how fast their connection is. So this thing is out there on 32,000 servers, measuring every single connection that comes in, and it generates a lot of data. So here we have a data set that's roughly 1,000 times bigger than the Wikipedia data set, 240 billion rows. When you have this larger data set, you will want to see that, for example, that it is consistent, that these 32,000 servers, who is creating these 240 billion rows? Is it just a few of these servers who are running most of the tests, or is it fairly evenly spread out? How many of the different tests in the test suite is each of these servers running? These are hard data problems to deal with when you have 240 billion rows. Fortunately, I loaded it all up, and not on the hotel Wi-Fi, mind you. And we're going to check it right now. We're going to do a select over 240 billion rows. Look at this query. So this is a little more complex. Not only is it 1,000 times more data, you see here that we have two inner queries. So we select number of tests, and number of tests, and then number of clients who performed that many tests. So there are a couple of hundred different tests you can do. And then we select by IP address, and after that we do a raw select on the whole main table. This is the one, so the Web 100 log entry. This is the one that has the billions and billions of rows. And then we do a bunch of filtering, and then we do group by on each of the queries. And finally, a big order by here at the end. 240 billion rows. Let's have a look. Also, if you'll just be quiet, I will just mumble a quick prayer to the demo gods. Please make this work. Oh, and we should also turn off the cache, of course. Let's see. Okay, 1,000 times more data than the last test. The last test took 3 seconds, roughly. So if this takes 1,000 more times, it will take an hour. So we'll run into the next session then. So Lloyd will probably come up here and interrupt me. Also, I will, if it's going to take an hour, I will run, I'm just warning you, I will run out of good stories to tell about Norwegians. Let's run it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it ever going to finish? It's a little scary with these. You know it's just a JavaScript thing here, right? You don't know if it actually runs. Oh, it did. 8. That was actually faster than on the hotel Wi-Fi. Let's see if we see some. Oh yeah, there's good data too. So here we see that 4,000 of these 32,000 websites ran one test only. 6,000 ran 2 tests, 14,000 ran 3 tests. So we can feel good that there was a sort of a bell curve here. We see that then drops off. So we feel good about this data. We can make policy decisions based on this data because most clients ran at least 3 tests. So here is where I grant you all superpowers, because you can do this. If you ever thought that your log files were too big, no problem, just dump them in here. If you have clickstream data, other data, that's a lot of data, then just dump it in here. If it can deal with 240 billion rows, it can probably deal with your data. Also, as a funny side story about this, a lot of these tools I'm showing off here today started as Google internal projects. This started off something like 8 years ago, internal to Google. And because Google, we needed to look at our log files, right? And you couldn't dump our log files with, 400 millions of queries every minute. You can't just dump it into a SQL database, because we want to find out what was the most searched for term, for example. And with that many queries every second coming in, we can't dump it into a SQL database. So we built our own tool, and of course it was a Googler who built it, and they were really into renovating, fixing up their house. And this was a great multi-purpose tool that could analyze log files. So he called it Dremel. So that's what we call it internally at Google. Of course, we can't call it Dremel externally because Dremel belongs to somebody else, that brand. So it's called BigQuery externally. So some folks who have used this superpower is Safari. So these are the guys who have online computer books for developers. Who here has used Safari online with their books? Oh yeah, okay, great, a third. Cool, I love them, it's great. They had a problem though. They have all this clickstream data of which books are people looking at on the web or on mobile devices, and which pages are people looking at. And this, as you imagine, is a lot of data. But they want to have not just a report they produce at the end of the month, but a UI that you can click on. So this is actually a screenshot of their clickable interface where their business folks can go in and see that the title that got the most clicks recently was the Ruby programming language book. And the previous hour, it was the 30-day MBA and so on. And then they can click through and they can see sort of real-time reporting because as things are happening on the Safari website, they stream that data into BigQuery. And then when the user clicks here, they run this BigQuery, the queries on it. So very cool use case. All right, let's see. That was 2 trends. The third one, this is interesting. This is also a trend that has been going on for centuries and millennia. So thousands of years ago, people were carving the laws of the land into stone tablets, and that's why we still have them around. And the transactions that merchants did in ancient Babylon was done on clay tablets that were then baked, and you couldn't really change it. And as data, as times went on, data became more and more mutable. And this is really exciting because if data can change faster, it means that it's a lot more useful. And there are companies doing great things. And I would argue they are successful just because they understand how to deal with rapidly changing data. So here's an example. This is Uber. I love Uber, and I use them all the time. Who here uses Uber? All right, okay. More people have read Safari books online than Uber. This was fascinating. I walked out of the hotel this morning. The doorman said, "Oh, can I get you something?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was going to pull up, Uber on my phone, but I asked him to get a taxi for me. And it took him longer to run around and get a taxi than if I had just done it here, and the car would have shown up. So what's cool with this is that for those of you who haven't used Uber, this is an app. You say where you are. Well, your phone always knows where you are, so you don't have to tell it. You say, "I want a car," and then it tells you you'll have a car in 2 minutes. And these black splotches here, what looks like black rectangles, are cars. These are the available cars. So if you step out of your hotel and it looks like this, you know that this is great. I have something like 8 or 9 cars right around me. So if I click, "I want a car here now," I will have it in 2 minutes. What's fascinating with this is that if you actually run the Uber app, you will see these cars moving, stopping at traffic lights, turning corners. So Uber is keeping track of not only where the cars are, but their speed and what direction they're going, and sending this out to millions and millions of users. So they keep track of millions of cars. In real time, they send that data to the users, which gives them which means that the Uber app is awesome and is so much better than having the doorman get a cab or call a cab company because they don't have real-time data. Amazing technology, but this is not really what we're used to. We're not used to having millions of users out there being updated on our data every second. This is hard. It's hard to maintain it on the server. How do you deal with the connections out there to the clients? How do you feed data to them? You need to build a huge server farm if your clients are going to poll your database. It just gets messy. And this is the kind of headache I felt when I tried to build systems that did similar things. Especially also game applications are really hard when you need to send game state out to lots of users. Really hard stuff. Fortunately, Dr. Martin has an Asprin for you. And the one in this case is Firebase. So this is really cool. Lloyd or Stephen mentioned it earlier. I have many good friends who work there. They actually left Google about a year or two ago, and then 6 months ago, Google bought Firebase. So you can try to leave Google, but you can try. So what's cool with this is that these guys have APIs so that you have your real-time database and you send out updates to your users on iPhone and Android or JavaScript clients. And there's a $50 bill down there, and that is a reminder to me to tell you that $50, or rather $49, is how much it costs to enable your application with this. That buys you 200 simultaneous connections. So you can have 200 clients connected to your application at any one point. Now, the guy I know most actually best, who went over and headed up Firebase developer relations team, I asked him, so what is Firebase? And he said it's a real-time database. And I was, yeah, okay, but what does that mean? I mean, even in other databases, you can, in a SQL database or NoSQL database, you can change data and then read out the changed data right away. So what does it actually mean? And I think the only way to show this, well, to show it, is to show it. So let's play some computer games. Here we have, this is on the Firebase website. We have a code sample here. This is a Tetris game that is written in JavaScript that runs entirely on the client. So you see here they have, let's see, we'll just go down a little bit. They have various block colors, the shapes and colors of the pieces, the initialization, some rules. All of this is code that deals only with the rules of Tetris. And we just keep going, keep going, keep going. I'll go a little further. Somewhere around here, there's database stuff going on. Rotate. Oh, no, I missed it. Let's go back. So this writes to the Firebase database. If you can't see it in the back, let me tell you, it's a method declaration and one line of code. This reads from the database. This actually requires 2 lines of code. So let's play Tetris. Now, I warn you, it was a long time since I played Tetris, so I'm not very good at this. But we'll see here. Okay, cool. Where should I put it? Where should I put it? Corner? No? Okay. This one. Ooh. Right next to it. Is that right? Okay, good. All right, this. Oh, no. What should I do? Like that? Okay. But then over here, but I lock that one in. Over here? Okay, great. Oh, do you think I can slide this in under the other one? Let's see. Yeah. Oof. I'm clearly playing. Oh, look at this. I think I'm going to beat my high score here. Actually, if you'll excuse me, I'll be playing this. We can continue after the break. So what's cool with this is that this is a Tetris game. I can play it. It's just in my browser. But it's actually a 2-player game. So, and this is where... So over here, we have player 1. Player 1 can affect the outcome in this over here, in the race of white. Here's player 2. Player 2 can affect the outcome here, but he sees what player 1 does over there. So player 2 is not doing very well. Well, actually, neither of these players is doing very well. Fortunately, it's a forgiving game. It just starts again. So this happens with those 2 lines of JavaScript. Not only are these 2 clients kept in sync, but they also, and we'll look at this. This is the database. So here we have player 0 and player 1. Here we see what the board is. Here we see, and this is changing in real time, as you see. So we can do neat things here, like change the board in real time. Oh dear, this is not, yeah, okay. Restart it all over again. This is better. So now look at the board. Okay, so now look at the bottom line over here. I'm going to cheat. This is my favorite way of playing Tetris. Green, 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 green. Green, green, green. Boom. I just created a row of green. That's how programmers play Tetris, okay? So this is obviously great for games, and 2 lines of code to enable this game and do real-time data. So now you know what it means when I say real-time data. And you now have superpowers because you can do this when others can't. And some of the folks who do this is Twitch. This is a strange company. I would never have understood that Twitch would be a big company, but this is basically the guys. You see the picture over there in the upper right-hand corner, a bunch of guys playing video games, and it's like video games as a spectator sport. And they're worth billions of dollars, and they did a God of War marathon last night. This is what it looked like. My son loves it, and clearly he is more of their demographic than I am. Amazon bought them for more money than you can shake a stick at. They, however, it's all about real time for them, right? So they use this Firebase for their various live updates on their website. Real-time data. Data changes faster than ever before. Okay, here's another one. IT hardware prices keep dropping, but expectations on all of you keep rising. So what this means is you can buy all the hardware you want, but, and hardware has come down in price. This is the hard disk you've been waiting for. So hard disks, and I guess today, you probably can't even get a thumb drive that's 10 megabytes, right? And it certainly doesn't cost $3,000. But at the same time, you haven't become cheaper, or developers haven't become easier to get. We heard all these great sponsors are here today. Every single one of them is looking for to hire people. So what that means is that computers have an easy time of it because you can just buy more of them, but you can't buy more of the programmers, so you can't clone yourself. So there you are in the middle of the night drinking coffee and working way too hard. So here, and this is headache-inducing, I can tell you, especially, yeah, we've all done those all-nighters. The way to deal with this headache is to not, you need to become more productive. And the Google Cloud Platform, I would argue, helps you do that. There are various products here. We can talk about it later, about what each product does, because you can store and you can compute, and there's everything